Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. It is Saturday night, December the 20th, 2014, a rather special day for me, but I'm not going to get into it because it requires some explanations, but it's been a very, very good week for me. Very, very good. I've been feeling very good. I am officially on vacation now for a little while. So I've been spending the last couple days just recording all the things that I can possibly record. I want to get enough things done so that we can, there's going to be, obviously 2 days in there, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, where I will be hard pressed to do any kind of recording. So I want to make sure I have enough videos recorded and edited for those days so that we can have an uninterrupted YouTube channel. Speaking of which, right after I record this, I'm going to sit down and record my update for the channel update for the month. I'm a little bit late on it, or actually maybe I'm right on time for it. I'm not quite sure. It actually does make a little bit more sense to do it in the middle of the month instead of at the beginning, because it helps to keep things in perspective as to what's going on for the rest of the month and what happened at the beginning. So expect that'll be coming out. I will probably have that. I have the background footage for that already recorded. All I need to do is record my voice, my voiceover. And so I would expect that I'll probably have that ready to go for a time slot after Cube Ramblings here. So we'll have a rare 2 videos on a Sunday, and I'll speak a little bit more about what's going on with the channel, things that I've been trying to work on, so on and so forth there. In the meantime, we have a lot of news. I didn't get through too much news last time around. I'm still waiting for the results of the IndieDB voting. I think it's still not quite finished yet. I meant to take a look at it, but it hasn't happened yet. And then, I'll have some time to actually look and maybe do some research on some of the winners when they come out. But that voting is I believe still commencing right now. So we'll see what were the top rated indie video games as decided by those who visit IndieDB shortly, hopefully, probably for the next episode here. In the meantime, let's get around to some of the news around here, especially a lot of the stuff on my spreadsheet here. So there's been a lot around Mojang lately. So first of all, this is back from actually a couple weeks ago. There was an article, I'll link you to it, where talking about the Minecraft live action movie that was in talks between Mojang and Warner Brothers. The director that they had pegged for the role was the same. I think I have his name written down here, but it doesn't actually. It's not actually popping up in my peripheral vision at the moment. But the director that they had pegged for it was also the director of Night at the Museum and several other more, I guess, kid-friendly or kid-targeted movies. Sean Levy, that is the name of the guy. They were coming up with a live-action Minecraft movie. It was going to be, as they say, Goonies style. Those of you who are old enough like me to remember the Goonies, I just from that description alone, I kind of cringe a little bit because not that the Goonies was a bad movie, but the Goonies was definitely I would say, a product of the times in which it came out. In other words, it's very good for that era, and probably not so good for this era. Just the idea of having a live action Minecraft movie kind of rubs me the wrong way, because it really shouldn't be, right? There's really not much there. I could see live action movies when it comes to some other video game franchises, Halo and some of the FPSs, the Call of Duty stuff and things like that. Like, those make more sense to me. Minecraft, not so much, especially considering the target audience, right? So Mojang has been, in my opinion, very open about exactly what their target demographic has been, which is mostly children. The fact that adults play Minecraft is just icing on the cake, I would say. They very heavily target children, and because of that, a lot of their EULA rules and everything else have been aimed squarely at protecting them from going onto servers that require them to buy ridiculous diamond weapons that should be available in the game as is without additional purchases. But I don't want to get too far into that. I think I've already covered that earlier, much earlier, many months ago. But that said, I would think that an animated movie would be more of the style of what you would expect for a Minecraft movie. So the fact that they were going live action, I think, already was already setting it up for failure in my opinion. And it turns out that folks at Mojang were probably already thinking very much the same thing, and they rejected the initial plans for the movie that were presented to them. And as such, the director decided to pass on taking up that IP. That's not to say that Warner Brothers can't, find another director and try to revise that IP, but for right now, it seems like it's going to be dead in the water for a little while, for just a little while anyway. Along those same lines, we got some news this week that Mojang, and I'll link you to the Mojang blog, but Mojang and Telltale Games have been in discussions about something very similar, which is doing what they're calling Minecraft Story Mode. Telltale Games, for those of you unaware, they do mostly point-and-click, story-driven, I guess you would call them choose-your-own-adventure games, because they are very much in that style of choose-your-own-adventure stuff. They've been doing some fantastic work. I'm not a big Walking Dead fan, but I've heard that the Walking Dead stuff that they've done is fantastic. I've seen a few videos that they've done of The Wolf Among Us, which was a comic book based thing around fairy tale characters, more of a grimy, gritty, adulty take on it. But from what I understand and from the videos that I've seen, that looks like they did a very good job with that as well. Although I've never read the comics on that, so I couldn't really tell you. Also, The Walking Dead was based on the comics as well, so I couldn't tell you how well they did there or didn't do there. But from the two games that I have played, the Borderlands, Tales from the Borderlands, and from Game of Thrones, which I do have the television background on, I can tell you that they did a fantastic job. Just a fantastic job. The artwork is not anything to write home about. The games are, the art is not, the games look dated, let's put it that way. The mechanics don't really change from one game to the next, and the engine really hasn't changed at all from what I can tell. But it does suit you play, from what I can gather, you play Telltale games for the story, not necessarily for the aesthetics or the mechanics, for that matter. And I have to say, for the two that I have played, the story was fantastic. It did what it needed to do, and it was it didn't overstay its welcome. It was like a 2-hour episode, and then I got just have to wait for the next episodes to come down. So I think it was I think that if there's anyone that I would trust with a Minecraft quote-unquote story, I think Telltale Games would do it the most justice. That said, it has been faced with a lot of head scratching on the internet, and I'll be honest, I scratch my head a little bit too about it. I see where the appeal is. Minecraft is very, very appealing to the younger crowd, enough that, like Barnes and Noble and other bookstores like carry Minecraft books that are fictional books based on Minecraft, and also technical books, like how to do this, how to build things, and it's big enough that there's whole industries, shirts, t-shirts, everything else like spawning up around Minecraft, much like Angry Birds. Angry Birds was another one that kind of surprised me. Is like, the plushies and the what was the other one? The other game that I saw a lot of, Animal Crossing, was it? Not, was it Animal Crossing? No. Farmville. Yeah, Farmville, that one too. Like, people, like grown-ass adults going to like Wawa and buying cards for, that unlock virtual stuff in Farmville for actual real-world money. It was amazing, incredible. I mean, just these casual games, and Minecraft, I would say, is a casual game. It's not, it's not going to tax you in any, it's casual enough that people who don't normally play video games could probably easily pick it up, which is why it's been such widely appealing, I would think, along with a lot of these other casual games that are out there. So I feel like it makes perfect sense as to what's going on. There's another school of thought that's like, hey, isn't this the thing that YouTubers and Let's Players have been doing for ages? And yes, I mean, we're talking about a game that inherently doesn't bring any story with it. And I continue to say that, even though there's that weird after the credits thing after you kill the dragon. That's still, the game still has no story that has been brought with it. It's a bring your own story game. And so yes, because of its very nature, playing the game, you supply the story. And since YouTubers play games, Let's Players play games, then yes, they all do bring their own story to it. Just like authors bring their own story to Minecraft as well, when they write books about it. So, and just so will Telltale when they bring their own story to it. Does it diminish the game? No. I mean, I honestly, in the history of franchises that large companies have bought, and given how Microsoft is universally vilified for many good reasons, there is little to anything that they could do that would actually really diminish from the game, other than break it. Completely break it. And even if they completely broke it, someone would just take one of the older versions and spawn off a whole new thing, and people would be just playing on that. There's very little, I would say personally, that anyone could do right now that would completely destroy the gameplay experience of Minecraft. Its universal appeal is what has made it popular, I'd say. So given that, I think this is a very good thing. I'm certainly curious enough to see what Telltale comes out of it, what Telltale makes out of it. There was a little bullet point on the Mojang blog about it, where they're like, hey, we're going to get the community involved with this as well, which you don't see on the Telltale blog, which they also link to. But I that's the only part that made me sort of blink a few times and have my mouth slightly agape, because the last thing I want is community involvement with a story-based game based on Minecraft that is, being created by Telltale, right? You really don't want to crowdsource that, in my opinion. That's something that really should be handled by a good author who has worked with Telltale before and understands the model and can do what they need to do with it. I cringe to think that maybe, we would see something. We would see either famous YouTubers in there making cameos, or otherwise see shadows of that was a good word to use. See shadows of other Let's Players stories in what this will become. I'm thinking of like the only things I can think of off the top of my head are like Shadow of Israfel, for instance. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Like or the Herobrine stuff. Like I really hope that none of that makes an appearance. I really hope it's just something completely new, completely fresh. There can be little wink wink nudge nudges to the community in there, but I would not involve the community too much with it, honestly. I know that's a weird thing to say, right? Because it's like, hey, Minecraft is all about the community right now. But there are far too many, in my opinion, and again, I'm going to say something wildly unpopular here, but there's far too many strong personalities, I would say, at work in the community that if you were to choose only a few, you would make something that wouldn't feel right, I think. I think what you really need to do is keep it as generic as you can. Just like the game itself is pretty generic and it's a bring your own story thing, it really should feel the same way. I feel like there shouldn't be any personalities dominating that story that they come up with. But that's my opinion, and we're a year off before we know what anything else about it. They said it's going to be another year before we see or hear about anything there. So this is just the initial announcement that they made. So that's cool. I am genuinely curious to see what comes out of that. I think it might be I have high hopes. I really do. Given the recent experiences I've had with Telltale games, I do have high hopes. They have not, as far as I know, have not really done anything wrong yet. That's arguable to the people who have played the other games, but that's just to me, and to the two games that I've played of theirs, they haven't really done anything wrong yet with that. In addition, we have some. There's not Mojang news, but it's Notch news. Notch is no longer, as you know, he sold the Mojang to Microsoft and then stepped down as CEO and all that stuff. So I have to sort of say former CEO of Mojang. Notch has, we just saw an article come out. I just saw an article come out here. I'll link you to it. Just bought the most expensive house in Beverly Hills, California, that has ever been sold before. I believe it was, let me look over at my notes here. Yep, $70 million, a $70 million Beverly Hills mansion. He beat out some celebrities on it for the bidding for it. So namely, the two that stood out were Jay-Z and Beyonce. He beat them out for control of the mansion. It's the highest price ever paid for a home in Beverly Hills. So I've seen some videos, or not videos, some pictures of the home. And in fact, some studious Minecraft players have taken that picture and made models of it in Minecraft, because irony is always delicious and fun. But it is quite gorgeous, actually. It's as gorgeous as you might think a $70 million home is. Apparently it has it's on a hill overlooking most of LA on the one side and the Pacific Ocean on the other side. Very, very large viewing area. There's a 56-foot curved glass door, ? I didn't write it down. I think that was something like that. That separates the house from the infinity pool. out in the backyard. And a few other things here. It's 23,000 square feet, which boggles my mind. I live in a, what is this? 1,400 square foot home, which is pretty spacious for myself, for just one person. That's a damn spacious thing. 23,000 square feet. I can't even fathom it. It's one of those things where I would literally, if I was in that position, I would literally have to, every recording I do, pick up and go into another room and probably get a year's worth of recordings before I've visited every room in that house. I can't, it's mind-boggling. It's one of those houses that's like, you know what? You need a full-time staff to keep that thing clean and keep it stocked. And it's just like, you cannot possibly, I don't care how big your family is, you cannot possibly keep up a house like that. You need help. So, that's always the thing that's boggled my mind too. It's like, you hear about these millions of dollar homes, and, you hear about these, celebrities putting out all this money for it. And then you go, and then you hear about them losing their homes. And you're like, wow, how could you lose it? You had all this money, you put all that money down. It's like, the reality of the situation is, it costs a lot of money to maintain those homes. Like, first of all, the property taxes must be in the millions. I can't even imagine what the property taxes are there, particularly in California, which is the highest taxes in general of the entire United States, as far as I remember, because they're in a big, large budget downfall, and they've been for several years, and so their taxes are exorbitant. But then there's also, the cost of all the bills and the heating and all that stuff. But then on top of that, it's the cost of all the help, the hired help to keep the thing, the groundskeeping and the pool boy and the or pool girl. Either I'll be fair there. And the the maids and so on and so forth. It's just, I cannot fathom that. You're probably paying, if you paid $70 million up front, which most probably don't, but if he bought it outright, I can still imagine that being probably, I would say probably $5 million a year just to maintain that house, probably. So that is, and that's my just completely out of the air estimate that I would say it's probably costs like $5 million a year just to keep that, just to keep the house, probably. And for all I know, it's even more than that. Who the hell knows? But yeah, that's fantastic. That's crazy stuff. It's got 2 bars. I believe it's a tequila bar and a vodka bar. So I would imagine you're going to have to run between the two if you want tequila and vodka at the same time. A candy room, which I don't even know what that means. What is a candy room? I maybe I don't want to know what a candy room is. It's California, so it's probably some kind of drugs. An 18-seat tiered screening room. So it's basically it's got its own movie theater with 18 seats in it. And an 18-foot onyx dining room table that seats 24 people, which seems out of character for Notch. If I am to be completely honest, really, I would think it should be out of lapis lazuli rather than onyx. But then again, maybe we have just confirmed a new block in Minecraft. Who the hell knows at this point? Onyx blocks in Minecraft confirmed. Now, I will link you to the article that goes into even more depth and has I believe a video with an interview with Notch. I don't know if it had Notch being interviewed in the house or not, but it at least had something on there with him. So I'll leave that for you guys to take a look at, and just shake your heads and go, if only. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. So a few more. We've gone through the Mojang and Minecraft and those related to Mojang and Minecraft stuff. We should go through some more game stuff here. Distance is now out on early access on Steam. I have my code. I was an early backer, so it's open beta right now. It's still early beta, and I have it downloaded, installed. I just haven't actually had a chance to sit down and record anything in it yet, but I will be. I will be very shortly. It's very cool. It's the successor to Nitronic Rush, which is a game that I have played on my channel. You can take a look at that if you're so inclined. It's a cool racer. I think the thing that will stand out in most people's minds, will probably be the soundtrack. I don't know what the soundtrack is like, but I imagine it's probably going to be pretty good and pretty techno. Technico. I don't know where Technico came from. That's an old man trying to explain music right there. And the UI interface, from what I've seen in videos, is very slick, very streamlined. Your whole UI is actually on your car, so you don't have to. It's very, very minimal, very, very minimalistic. So it's. I think it's going to do quite well, and I've seen some videos of it, seen some live streams of people who had access to the closed beta, so I'm very excited for it. I want to get down and dirty with it, so I'll be doing that very soon, hopefully. In addition to that, Forza Horizon 2, I'll link you to an article that talks a little bit more about this. We have just gotten some DLC this week. It's $20 DLC, $10 if you have the season pass, which I scratch my head at. If you've bought a season pass, I would imagine you should get things for free, but apparently no, you get them for cheap, not for free. So that's not what season passes mean in the old days. You had a season ticket, you got in for free for everything, but apparently not the way Forza Horizon works. But it's the DLC is called Storm Island. I have just purchased it a few minutes ago. It adds a whole bunch of rally racing and a new island that you go swimming about on, with all kinds of, as it says on the tin, storms on it. So you'll be in the rain a lot of mud, a lot of hills, a lot of craziness. So I have just side note on that, I have just recorded a session earlier before this where I got through the main content. I got through the finale, the Horizon Festival finale. So I will be delving into the DLC as well. So we'll be able to see that soonish, in a couple weeks, because I had a couple more videos to go up before then. So stay tuned. It looks like it's going to be pretty cool. They didn't really do much with the rally stuff. They did, but it was more, here's a little bit of grass and then some roads. There was a lot of, the computer cheats a lot on those rally races, in my opinion. There's a lot of these tight corners that I couldn't quite stand too much of. But hopefully the DLC gives a little bit more oomph to that, and a little bit more interesting things to look at. So that will be a thing. There's a rumor. I'll link it to the VG247 article. There's a rumor that there might be a Borderlands remastered edition. And this comes from the fact that the Australian ratings board has rated something that's called Borderlands Remastered. They've given it a M plus 17. M plus 17. Is that what I don't think I wrote it down. No, I didn't write it down. But I believe it is an M rated thing because of all the blood and gore and stuff. Rating for it. So we may be finding ourselves with a new Borderlands, a new old Borderlands, a remastered Borderlands. I have not played Borderlands at all. I'm very, very tempted to pick it up. It's on with the Steam holiday sale. It's pretty cheap right now. Borderlands 2 is anyway. The original Borderlands, I was always on the fence about it because it was like, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's too much randomness in it. It's one of those things that always nagged me about Diablo, right? Which is, you end up spending all this time looking at all these various random loot, and you're like, oh, well, this one's got this one, these are both white ones, or these are both purples, and this one's a little bit better than this one in this one aspect, but it's terrible in the other aspect, and you end up spending all this time, like, it feels like you're playing spreadsheets sometimes. It really does. To me, it feels like it. So I've always been on the fence about Borderlands, but if they do a remastered version with better visuals, which the visuals in the original Borderlands have really not held up well, maybe I'd be tempted. I'm not sure. It's that loot stuff that really bothers me. It's the same thing that bothers me a lot about the Torchlight games too. Is that spending all that time sitting there trying to compare and contrast loot, and you're like, screw it. You know what I mean? But I might be tempted. I might be tempted to do it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens if that comes out eventually. Another follow-up to the Game Awards from a couple weeks ago. Apparently, the show was even more of a success than I had thought it was. I thought it was just, it was mildly successful, about as much as the VGAs used to be. But apparently not. Apparently, it was even more successful than that. The show attracted 1.93 million viewers. Which, according to Polygon, is a 75% increase from the Spike VGX 2013 show, which, honestly, from what I understand, the Spike VGXs in 2013, pretty much, there was only one way to go from there, and it was up. So I'm not as impressed by the 75% increase thing. I am impressed that it attracted 1.93 million viewers, though. However, on average, viewers watched 28 minutes of the 3-hour show, which is actually very good for web video. Because, as a guy who does YouTube stuff, if I could average 28 minutes of view time on all my videos, I would be some sort of gilded, godlike figure. Attention spans simply aren't quite that high usually. So that is impressive, especially considering that I tuned it in for about 5 minutes and I was like, I can't stand it anymore. I'm cringing too much. I'm cringing so much my teeth are falling out. So it's like, okay, let's get rid of that. So yeah, congratulations to them. They got a good thing going. So I assume that with those numbers, we'll probably expect this next year as well. One of the things I believe was a follow-up for that I believe I read in the article, was that they said that they're probably going to do less premieres next year when they do it, and stick more closely to the games themselves and to the awards themselves. Which sounds like a good idea, although the premieres might have been why so many people were there, honestly. The awards themselves felt, just from my reading of them, felt like they were a bit too masturbatory, for want of a better word. But then again, a lot of award shows feel that way too. But these were just kind of like, they felt like they were just sort of slapped together sometimes. But you know, that's to each their own. And congrats to everyone who got an award. I harbor no ill will towards anyone. I never do. So we'll see what happens next year when it comes around. So it is that time of the year. It is that time of the year, my friends. The Steam holiday sale just kicked off on the 18th. I decided to just before starting the recording today to take a look around and just pick out a few things that jumped out at me. Of course, I'm going to quote you some percentages and some numbers here, but these are as of Saturday night here at roughly 7 p.m. Eastern time, so I have no idea if these will be the same when you're watching this on Sunday. But the first thing that popped out of my head was the Mass Effect collection. The entire collection is right now on Steam, 75% off at $8.74. Even I'm like, ooh, maybe I should buy this for the PC. I have Mass Effect 1 and 2 on the 360. I never bought Mass Effect 3 because it didn't really feel that appealing to me. But seeing that it's only $8.74, maybe I'm tempted. I may or may not pick that up. I've picked up a couple things already. I think I got 4 games for a grand total of $10 or so. One of them was Stream Runners. What the hell is it? Speed Runners. Stream Runners. Speed Runners was one of them. Just for the sake of having it. I mean, it was cheap. There were a couple other ones I picked up. I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, there's if you're looking for deals, now's your time for deals. If you're a bargain bin hunter, now's the time to do it. The other one I picked out here, Borderlands 2 Game of the Year, is 75% off for $9.99. I believe Borderlands 2, the non-Game of the Year one, was like $4.99. So it really depends on what you're looking for there. Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut, the game I've been playing through quite a bunch. Wow. Unintentional curse is unintentional. The game that I've been playing through a bunch is 50% off right now at $9.99. Suddenly I have Tourette's and I don't know why. That is rather fantastic. The director's cut is very good. It does make some very good modifications to the game, particularly getting it to not be that puke yellow or piss yellow color on everything. So that is always a good thing. Also, FTL, Faster Than Light, that is 50% off now at $4.99. If you're a fan of roguelikes or sci-fi games and you have not picked up FTL yet, what are you waiting for? Seriously, it's good. It's a nice game. It's one of those games that does the roguelikes correctly in that, in my opinion, once you die, which you die often in roguelikes, and that's the whole point, right? Once you die, you can get back into the game very quickly, and I think that's the most important thing for roguelikes to do, is that you can just get right back in there, get right back on that horse, and just get on going. So I don't know if that entitles you to the Captain's, what was it? It was an FTL Captain's Edition or something like that. I don't know if that's enables you to do that or not. And actually that was a mod, so yeah, I don't know. There was a DLC. I don't know if it was called the Captain's Edition or something else. I forget what it was called. I think FTL Advanced. That's what it was called. Captain's Edition is a mod, a free mod from the community. I don't know if that entitles you to the Advanced Edition. I believe that was a free DLC. I don't remember paying for it, at least. I don't know if that's still true or not. So that's up to you. That's something you should do some research on. I'm not sure about it. And those were a couple of the things I picked out right off the top of my head. There's a lot of other things are kind of the same old stuff. There's some deals in there, but a lot of them are 20% off, and a few others that aren't quite so good. So that's what I was able to get out of that. So some news. I'll link you to Joystick on this one. Some news about the Halo Master Chief Collection. Some news that I probably this is the point where I go, man, I wish I had installed that sooner. So I bought the Master Chief Collection. I pre-ordered it, so I had it a few weeks after it came out, because it took a while to come in the mail. And then I never installed it. In fact, I just installed it today, a few hours ago. And I'm regretting that because, I'm one of those guys that tends to not install things until I'm almost ready to play it. And so I kind of sat here and collecting dust, but now I know better. Now I should just install things right away, because apparently for those who have installed and also played Halo Master Chief Collection, there's going to be, as a mea culpa for all the matchmaking issues that 343 Studios has been experiencing, they are going to give you for free the downloadable ODST DLC for the game. So also, I guess that in the same light, they've announced that there's going to be they're going to provide the ODST Halo 3 ODST missions, or main campaign, I should say, as part of the Halo Master Chief Collection, which is fantastic, by the way. That was the one part that I always thought was missing. I was like, why? ODST was fantastic, just absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I know it doesn't center around the Master Chief, so I can understand why it wouldn't be initially part of the Master Chief Collection, but man, it was such a good game, and I'm glad to see that that's finally becoming part of the game. But if you have downloaded, installed, played the game between November the 11th, which I think was when it launched, and December 19th, which is yesterday for me, Friday, you will be able to have some kind of code that will allow you to download that for free when it eventually comes out. For me, though, since I procrastinated in installing it and getting into it, I will have to pay full price for the DLC. But you know what? I will do it because I think ODST was fantastic. The fact that they're remastering it is awesome. The one thing they haven't done, they said, from what I understand, it's going to be just the main campaign, which is fine, but it's not going to be any of the firefight missions. Which, to be honest, the firefight missions were actually pretty fantastic. I played a few of them. They were really good, but I can understand that they really just want to get the main campaign out. So I'm happy with that, and I will be purchasing that when that comes out as well, because then I can have all my Halo on the Xbox One. Also, I believe, and I don't have a link to this unfortunately, but I believe that the Halo 5 multiplayer stuff, the multiplayer beta, is going live soonish, or has already gone live. I'm not quite sure yet. For those of us who pre-ordered it, we have a code to download it. So I have not done that yet. That's one of the reasons why I started installing Halo right now, so I could download that as well. So we'll be able to take a look at the multiplayer beta, hopefully, for Halo 5. Whatever state it's in right now. Let's see what we're doing for time here. Okay, yeah, we got some time. We got some time. Humble Bundle sent out an email to everyone who has contributed at some point in time, who has bought a Humble Bundle at some point in time, thanking everybody for their contributions. They have said that I'll link you to an article on Joystick that goes into a lot of detail, more detail than most of the other sites have gone into, which is rather fantastic. about what the announcement covered, but basically the Humble Bundle guys said that they have raised, over the last 4 years that Humble Bundle has been in existence, they have raised $50 million for various charities in total, and $100 million for the developers. So that is rather awesome and great. I can say that probably 90% of my collection has been from Humble Bundles. I usually pay, like $25 or so, which probably a little bit cheap. I probably should put more down than that, but I do see a lot of people putting the absolute minimum down, like $9 or something, and it's I roll my eyes a little bit because it is supposed to be for charity. But then again, it does allow a lot of relatively unknown titles to get some good exposure that they otherwise might not have gotten. So all good things all around. Very happy for them. So congratulations to Humble Bundle guys on that achievement. Hopefully we'll get another 50 million over the next 4 years of that. I know I'm constantly keeping my eyes out for what the next Humble Bundle is going to be. They've started to spray out now. They're doing books now and comics and various other things. So very cool to see that having taken off the way it has. What else do we got on our list here? So back to movies. Apparently, and this came out, I guess, as part of the large Sony hack that happened. I'll link you to Polygon article on it. But apparently, Sony has been in talks with Nintendo about getting a Mario Brothers animated movie together in the works. I don't know how far along they are, other than a couple executives were taking credit for sealing the initial contracts. And I'll say the same thing I said about the Minecraft thing. It's good that it's going to be an animated film. We all know what happened when Mario Brothers was a live action film, or at least most of us do. If you don't know what I'm talking about, a little search on YouTube and or IMDb will show you the quote unquote awesomeness of that. So yeah, I think it's fantastic that they're doing an animated film of that, and that's already proven itself as a ripe genre, a ripe area, I guess, for storytelling. I mean, there's been animated television series that were very good. I remember the Mario Brothers Super Show is very much in my brain, which it's in my brain for two reasons. One, for Mario Brothers. Two, for it also had the Legend of Zelda, the only, as far as I know, only Legend of Zelda animated TV series that has ever existed. I kind of wish they had another one, because that's another story that's just ripe for the picking that I don't know that anyone's ever picked up. And then there were other animated Mario things as well that were actually pretty good that I remember as a kid. There was Super Mario, Tales from Super Mario. There was one that was covering the Super Mario era, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's been many years, many years since I remember seeing it. But that was just straight up Mario story thing. I remember it covered all the Koopa kids and everything else. So you had all the, you had King Koopa and all his kids, and it was really well. Actually, there were two of them. Actually, now that I think about it, there was one that was covered Super Mario Brothers 3, which had Koopa, King Koopa, and all of his kids. And then there was one that came out after that I think was a little bit more short-lived, where it was Super Mario World, which covered the Super Mario World stuff with the cape suit and all that stuff, and went into Koopa a little bit, but didn't do much else beyond that. So that it's already proven itself as a ripe contender for stories, and good stories at that. At least entertaining stories anyway. So hopefully that will be something to look forward to for for gaming movies, since gaming movies have generally been flops, at least in the movie theaters. They tend to be cult classics after a while. I'm thinking about the Mortal Kombat movies. I tend to watch them just for the pure laugh factor that you can get out of it. And I guess technically the Resident Evil stuff got a little bit more eyeballs on it than most, but yeah, for the most part, everything else has been pretty much a flop in that regard. So it'll be good to see them taking their roots back to animation and see what they can make out of it. Oh, all kinds of talking, all kinds of time this time around. I feel like I'm usually rushing at the very end to get one last thought in before the end times, but this time around I've actually got a little bit of breathing room, and I've gone through a significant portion of my list, which is always a good thing. I guess it helps that there wasn't a whole lot of news that happened this week or stuff that was very newsworthy. There is this whole, and I'm not gonna link anything to it because it's not worth more than 5 minutes of time, if even that, on it. There was this whole thing about the game called Hatred. It's a intentionally controversial game that's being developed, and it was put up on Steam green light, and Valve took it down, and then they put it back up again when Gabe Newell got wind of the fact that they took it down, and then found out that the reasons they took it down were not very good reasons, so they put it back up again. So not much of a story there. It's pretty much resolved itself now. There's no reason for me to go too in depth with it, especially since it's kind of a polarizing one. I'm not going to go too far into it because it gets into the realm of quote unquote censorship, kind of, but not really. It gets into the realm of companies choosing not to stock shelves of certain things, much like the GTA 5 stuff in Australia. But honestly, far better people, far more articulate people have already touched upon all these things. So I really don't have much else to add to it. What I will say is that games like this, games like Hatred, games like Manhunt, games like Postal, not really that appealing to me as an individual. And I know I'm in the minority in that regard, but even back when I was a kid, they just weren't that appealing. It always felt like they were trying too hard to be controversial for the sake of being controversial, and not really focusing on having focusing on having good gameplay. It was just stuff was there just to be there. It felt like to me, and so I've never really found any of those games appealing. So Hatred, same thing. I don't find that kind of stuff that appealing. There are plenty of people who do, and I don't begrudge them one bit for what they like or don't like. So that's just my stance on it. I was like, it's cool that everything's been worked out. It's cool that there's a consistency, at least in how Valve handles things. I just still don't feel like I'll ever be buying that game. There's nothing about that game that I find particularly appealing. Same with Manhunt, same with Postal. So, to each their own. To each their own. So I have picked up a couple games, and I've been playing a few games to try to get the feel of them. A few that you'll probably see some videos on. One that you'll almost definitely see a video on very shortly is the one that I covered in a live stream last night, my Friday live stream. It's called Ironcast, and I'll leave you links to their website, hopefully. I have to go dig it up. I don't have them in my spreadsheet right here. But Ironcast is a very, very interesting game. I have access to it because I backed their Kickstarter. I don't know. I'll have to look this up before I do my side quest video, but I don't know if they have a way for you to buy into it yet. I don't know if they're on early access yet. I do have a code that allows me to play it on Steam, but I don't know if it's an early access thing or if it's just the code that they sent me. I know that they sent me one, but I don't know if they have a storefront up yet or anything like that. So I'll get you all that information when I actually make the video on it, the side quest video on it. But it is a rather fantastic game. It's if you've ever played Puzzle Quest, and I played the heck out of Puzzle Quest back in the day on my 360. If you've played that before, it'll look it'll have very similar mechanics to it, where there is a lot of matching that goes on. You match gems for things. But on top of that, they've kind of combined Puzzle Quest and its RPG-like elements, and they've combined it with a roguelike. So you have the roguelike elements where it's basically you're supposed to die very often, but you still are able to get like a global unlock, global XP that allows you to unlock more stuff in the game as you go, even though you've died a couple times. You've got like a map that you can choose your next poison, as it will be, and it's basically an alternate universe steampunk thing where it's the British fighting the French, and you are in mechs, or as they call them, Ironcast. So it's mech on mech fighting, with some interesting twists. There's like different game modes. There's the basic, battle mode where it's just mano a mano, mech versus mech. And then there's like little interesting twists to it. Like, hey, this mission, even though you're going to fight another mech, your primary objective is to collect 6 boxes of supplies or collect this intelligence. And as you match things on the board, those boxes will appear down from the top, and you have to try and mash them up and get enough of them done before your turn limit, before you hit your turn limit. And everything's got a turn limit, so you have usually it's 10 turns to defeat the enemy, or else you lose. In some of those cases, it's like 6 turns for some things. It's very cool. On the live stream, I failed quite a bit, but I also had one very good run where I got, I think I got 3 or 4 days into it. I think it was 3 days into it. You have 9 days, I think, when you start out, before the huge invasion of the French comes. And the idea is you have 9 days to fight these battles, level up your mech, get new supplies as you destroy things. You get new blueprints. You get scrap, which you spend to not only restore your health, but also your mech's health, but also get power-ups and whatnot and build them. And then along the way, you get experience points, which then allows you to unlock. As you level up, you unlock perks that you can use during the campaign, and then you also are trying to fight for war. What did they call it? War assets, I think is what they called it. So every mission you run gives you certain war assets, and some missions give you bonus war assets if you do certain things. And so the idea is to build up as many war assets as you can, so that when the final battle comes, you can deploy those against the enemy. And I haven't gotten that far. I haven't gotten as far as the final battle yet. I died after about 3 days or so. That was the longest run I had in the live stream. So it's a very, very cool game. I'll be doing a video on it, most definitely, because I enjoyed my time in the live stream on it. So that you can expect that to come out soonish. Side quest video on that, and then we can see what we can we can do with that, and I'll give you more information. I'll make sure to gather up more information about how to get into it, or what you can do, or what's planned for it. It's in I believe it's a beta state right now, so you know, we'll come to that bridge when we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, as always. I also took a look off camera at a game called FarSky. Now I did this because I also saw a video, I think Paul Source Jr. put a video up of Subnautica, and these are kind of in the same vein as one another. These are like Minecraft underwater adventures, sort of, which, to be honest, is a fantastic idea. It just requires some good thought to be put into it. Subnautica is very, very early. It's still like alpha state, and it's only got a very limited amount of gameplay in it from what I understand. I haven't really dug into that yet. I might do that soon. It's early access and I have to buy it, and I haven't done that yet. I did buy FarSky, and I believe I did that because it was on sale. And I wanted to see what that was like as compared to what I saw of Subnautica. And it's apparently, FarSky is a completed game. It's not in early access anymore, but you'd be hard pressed to see that it's completed. It's still got a lot of weird, you know, artifacts and various other things in it that are just not. There's not a whole lot of gameplay there, not as much as there should be anyway. And as far as I know, it's been largely abandoned, and there hasn't been any new content created for it. So I was playing a little bit of that. I was playing that for a little bit. It is very much a wiki game where you have to kind of look things up to see how to do certain things, or what to do. I can kind of figure out a few things, but still, there's like I had a spear, but it wouldn't work. Like I couldn't get the spear to actually work. So I don't know if it required, you know, a spear gun to be made, or what. I have no idea. I was struggling with it a bit. Didn't quite have what didn't quite figure it out at when I was playing it. But I only played for about a half an hour or so. So I might do a video on it. I'm not sure. It might end up being just a background video while I do something else, more than likely, because it is a bit of a sandbox game, and I don't really have the time to dig into more than one sandbox game at a time. And Minecraft right now is the thing that takes my time, so I can't commit to anything that involves sandboxy stuff, unfortunately. But that, I also, I looked at Subnautica. Well, I looked at the videos on Subnautica. It looks kind of interesting, although it does look very, very early. I mean, almost too early yet on it. And I think it was like $15 or something when I looked at it. So it's another one of those, like, why are you charging this much for almost nothing here yet? But it is what it is, I suppose. So I might take a look at that at some point too, once it matures a little bit more. But that's I'll leave you links to both, so you can just take a look and see what you see out of it. In addition, now there's a couple things I've picked up at the for the GOG holiday sales that they've had. Two things that I've heard were, well, one thing that I read the reviews on the GOG page about, and they were rather stellar reviews. And another one that I've heard a lot of good things about, so I don't know how true it is or not, but they're both older games. One is called Darkstar One. The other is called Mountain Blade. Now, Mountain Blade is the one I've heard is rather fantastic from several sources, and there's a couple Mountain Blade 2 and a few other things that I bought as part of the the sale that was going on. So I want to take a look at that and see how good that is. I installed the original, and I got as far as just doing like one of the tutorials, and realized that I can't play that game in windowed mode because it doesn't constrain your mouse. So I'll have to play that in full screen to really get the full experience out of it. I was having a lot of trouble because I was clicking on things on the desktop when I really wanted to just spin my view around. So I'll have to look deeper at that. But I've heard that's a very good game, so I wanted to take a look at it. And the other thing that I never heard anything about, but it looked really good, was Darkstar One. This is a sci-fi game. It's, from what I can tell, it's in the style of like Privateer, sort of, and maybe a little tiny bit of Freelancer. Yeah, I was going to say Starlancer, but it's really Freelancer. So it might be a little bit of those combined slightly. I haven't quite dug into it enough. I dug into it a little bit. I spent about, I would say, half an hour or so looking at it, and already I'm planning in my head how I'm going to make a series out of it, because a lot of sci-fi things are pulling me back in again. A lot of these sci-fi games, and this one looks actually rather good. So I want to see. I might end up doing a series on it. I don't know how long the series will be. I don't know if it'll be a series that I continue, forever and ever until I finish the game. But I at least want to record a few things and see what it's like. I haven't gotten far enough into it to really tell what it's like, other than to say my first impressions of it were that this is probably something that I'm going to enjoy playing. So I've looked at that too, and so I'm going to keep your eyes out for the channel. I might have a few new series going on as far as that goes, but I'll talk more about those series and things in the channel update that I'll record after this. And I think we have time for one more thing, so I'll talk about Elite Dangerous a little bit. I have been tooling around just a minor bit in Elite Dangerous. I was playing a little bit in their beta that came out, and now the game itself, if I'm not mistaken, is out fully now. It's the full game. It's as full as it's going to be for the moment. It's not really, if you're looking for the multiplayer and stuff, you're going to be upset. They're still going to have more downloads and more updates to the game as it goes on, but it's really content light at the moment, from what I understand. I haven't gotten very far in it. I was having a little bit of troubles with the tutorials that I was playing, so maybe they've fixed the tutorials a bit. I had a problem where I was stuck forever in hyperspace. It wouldn't finish. So it is one of those games. It is like a flight sim game. It is one of those games that will take over every key on your keyboard and mouse and then some. So you're not. It's a little bit rough from my perspective, because it's hard to get into a game like that right away, because you need to. There's a learning curve there. You really need to get into, and I have a problem with my joystick where I have a lot of calibration problems. Whenever I unplug the joystick, it then uncalibrates itself for some reason, and I have to futz around with that to try to get it. The dead zone's not quite right on it, and I have to kind of hold it slightly to keep it from to keep the dead zone in check and all that stuff. So it's I have to do some more work on my end to try to figure out how to play that game. That's probably going to be one of those games that I end up playing as a live stream only. I have a couple of those in my thoughts that would probably only be live stream things, because there's going to be a lot of downtime from what I understand in it. But we'll see. I haven't gotten far enough into the game to really tell what's going to happen there. It does require a persistent internet connection to play, for DRM reasons, I imagine. So maybe not DRM reasons, but there's apparently stuff that has to happen on the servers, even if you're playing single player. There's a lot of apparently shared logic that has to stay on the server. So whatever. That's pretty much par for the course now as it goes. I know there was a lot of controversy around that. I'll link you to a VG247 article from actually a couple weeks ago, from November, that talked about it a little bit, but I think it's been smoothed over a bunch with the community, especially now that it's released. So probably not as big a deal as it was when that article came out. But anywho, I think I've said all I can about Elite Dangerous without actually having spent more than 20-25 minutes in the game. So I need to spend more time in it to see what I can get out of it. I've only played like the tutorials as it is, so I think that will just about do it for this episode of Cube Ramblings. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. As I finish off these bark beetles here, I've done a lot of leveling in this episode, a whole lot of leveling, up to level 167 now. So got good things here. I tried to pump as much into my horse that I could so you get some faster speed here. Still on the quest for the lava biome that I have not found yet. That's the only biome I have not found yet in this version of the game. So hopefully someday we will encounter it. Hopefully prior to me being level 255. But we'll see. As far as I know, there's no level cap, so it'll just keep on going. But like I said, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I will see you guys next Sunday.